The storm came without warning, turning the peaceful evening into chaos. Marcus Webb pulled his ranger jacket tighter as he checked the weather monitoring equipment one last time. The Forest Service station sat alone on the mountain ridge, miles from the nearest town. Most people would call it isolation. Marcus called it home. Lightning split the sky like broken glass, illuminating the dense pine forest below. He was about to head inside when something streaked across the heavens. Not lightning, but something solid, burning, falling fast. The object crashed somewhere in the valley with a sound like thunder, followed by an eerie blue glow that pulsed. Through the trees, Marcus grabbed his emergency kit and flashlight. 37 years old, he'd seen plenty of strange things in these mountains. But nothing had ever made his heart race like this. The glow drew him forward like a beacon, his boots crunching through wet leaves and fallen branches. The crash site was a scene from another world. Twisted metal that seemed to shift colors in the strange light. Fragments of what looked like crystal scattered across the forest floor. And in the center of it all, a figure that made Marcus forget how to breathe. Was obviously not human, yet undeniably beautiful. Her skin held a soft blue luminescence that pulsed gently like a slow heartbeat. Long silver hair spread around her shoulders, still glowing despite being dampened by rain. She wore clothing that seemed woven from starlight itself, thin, flowing. Material that clung to curves that were both alien and perfectly feminine. Blood seeped from a gash on her forehead. But it wasn't red. It glowed the same blue as her skin, creating rivulets of light down her face. Her breathing was shallow, labored. She was dying. Marcus knelt beside her, his hands shaking. Every rational thought screamed at him to call for help, to report this. To authorities. But something deeper, more primal, held him back. She was vulnerable. She was beautiful. She needed him. "Hey," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the storm. "Can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open, enormous, violet. Eyes that seemed to hold entire galaxies. They focused on his face with obvious effort. Her lips moved, producing sounds that were musical but incomprehensible. The fear in her expression was universal, though. "It's okay," Marcus said softly, slowly removing his jacket. "I'm not going to hurt you." He wrapped the jacket around her shoulders, surprised by the warmth radiating from her skin. She flinched at first, then relaxed slightly as she realized his intentions. Her hand reached up, fingers barely brushing his wrist. Contact sent an electric thrill through his entire body. "Beautiful," he murmured without thinking, then blushed. Even injured and afraid, she was the most stunning being he'd ever encountered. She seemed to understand the tone, if not the words. The faintest smile touched her lips before pain made her wince. Marcus carefully lifted her in his arms, amazed at how light she felt, despite being nearly his height. Her head rested against his chest, and he could feel her alien heartbeat synchronizing with his own. The walk back to his cabin felt eternal. With each step, Marcus realized he was crossing a line he could never uncross. Harboring an alien being, hiding her from the government, risking everything for a woman whose name he didn't even know. But as she clung weakly to his shirt, as her strange, beautiful face turned toward him with trust instead of fear, he knew he'd already made his choice. Healing. Touchdawn broke gray and misty over the mountains. Marcus had spent the night in his chair, watching over his unexpected guest. She lay on his couch, covered in his softest blankets, her blue glow now steady and peaceful rather than the frantic pulsing of the night. Before, he'd done what he could with his first aid kit, cleaning wounds, applying bandages, giving her water. But he suspected her physiology was different enough that human medicine might not help. Still, she seemed stronger now, her breathing deeper and more regular. She stirred as sunlight filtered through the windows, those remarkable violet eyes, opening slowly. When she saw him, she didn't flinch this time. Instead, she sat up carefully, studying his face with obvious curiosity. "Marcus," he said, pointing to himself. Then he gestured to her with raised eyebrows. She tilted her head, considering. "Then?" She spoke a word that sounded like music. Something with soft consonants and flowing vowels that his human tongue could never hope to reproduce. "That's beautiful," he said. "But maybe something easier?" He thought for a moment. Nova? Like a star? Her eyes lit up with understanding and what might have been pleasure. She nodded, pointing to herself. Nova, Nova, he repeated, loving how the name felt in his mouth. Are you hungry? Thirsty? Through gestures and simple words, they managed basic communication. Marcus prepared a light breakfast. Fruit, bread, water, unsure what her alien digestive system could handle. To his relief, she ate eagerly, specially drawn to the sweet berries he offered. As the morning progressed, Nova's strength returned. Noticeably, she examined everything in his cabin with fascination. Books, photographs, his weather instruments. When she saw pictures of Earth from space, she became very excited, pointing and speaking rapidly in her musical language. You're not from around here, Marcus said with a wry smile. Are you? Nova seemed to understand his meaning. She moved to the window, gazing up at the sky with obvious longing. Then she turned back to him and began what was clearly an attempt at explanation, mixing her words with gestures and expressions. Slowly, Marcus began to understand. Her people traveled between stars. She had been ... exiled. Banished. The sadness in her voice suggested punishment of some kind. Her ship had been damaged, forcing the crash landing. You're alone, he said softly, recognizing the emotion in her eyes. Like me. Nova looked at him with sudden intensity. She approached slowly, stopping just inches away. Her hand reached up to touch his face gently, her palm warm against his cheek. The contact sent shivers through him that had nothing to do with temperature. Lonely, she whispered, the English word careful but clear. Yes, Marcus breathed. Lonely. Her thumb traced along his jawline, and Marcus felt his heart rate spike. She was so close, he could see the intricate patterns of light beneath her blue skin, like constellations mapped across her body. Her scent was unlike anything human, something like ozone and flowers and distant stars. Nova, he said, his voice rougher than intended. She seemed to hear something in his tone that transcended language. Her eyes searched his face, reading emotions that needed no translation. Slowly, almost hesitantly, she leaned closer. Their lips met in the softest possible kiss. Her mouth was warm and tasted faintly of the berries they'd shared. The contact was electric, alien, and perfectly right all at once. When they parted, both were breathing heavily. Marcus, she whispered, his name sounding like a prayer in her musical voice. He pulled her closer, marveling at how perfectly she fit in his arms despite their obvious differences. Her head rested against his chest. He could feel that strange double heartbeat again, hers and his, finding rhythm together. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance. But inside the small cabin, two lonely beings had found something neither. Had expected a connection that transcended species, language, and worlds. Forbidden connection. 3 days passed like a dream. Marcus called in sick to the Forest Service, claiming a bad flu. He couldn't bear the thought of leaving Nova alone, and she seemed equally reluctant to let him out of her sight. They spent hours learning each other's languages, Nova proving remarkably quick with English while Marcus struggled with the flowing sounds of her native tongue. She taught him that her people were called the Zalani dwellers between stars who could heal with touch and sing to make plants grow. You're a healer, Marcus said, watching in amazement as Nova's glowing hands encouraged his withering houseplants. To bloom with vibrant life was healer, she corrected sadly. Now ... exile. Through careful questions and gentle coaxing, Marcus learned her story. She had been cast out for falling in love with a human during a previous visit to Earth. Her people forbade such relationships, considering them contamination of their pure bloodline. Their loss, Marcus murmured, pulling her close as they sat before the fireplace. You're perfect. Nova's response was to turn in his arms and kiss him with growing confidence. What had started as tentative exploration 3 days ago had evolved into genuine passion. Her alien physiology meant their intimate moments were unlike anything Marcus had ever experienced. Her skin would glow brighter with arousal. Her touch seemed to resonate through his very cells. Tonight felt different, though, more urgent. Nova's hands traced patterns on his chest that made him gasp, her touch leaving trails of warmth that lingered long after she moved away. "Marcus," she whispered against his neck. "Want you? Need you." He carried her to his bed, their movements careful and reverent. Making love to an alien woman required patience and discovery, learning what brought her pleasure versus what was merely different. But Nova was an eager teacher, guiding his hands to sensitive spots along her luminescent skin that made her arch and cry out in musical tones. When they finally joined, it was with a sensation unlike anything Marcus had imagined possible. Her inner warmth seemed to pulse with energy that connected directly to his nervous system. He could feel her emotions, her desire, her joy, her love, as clearly as his own. "Is this what your people call bonding?" He gasped as waves of shared sensation crashed over them. "Yes," Nova moaned, her back arching as pleasure built between them, bonding forever. They moved together with increasing urgency, her glow brightening, until the entire room was bathed in soft blue light. When climax finally took them both, Marcus felt something fundamental shift in his being. He could sense Nova's presence in his mind, warm and loving and permanent. They lay entwined afterward, both glowing faintly now, as Nova's alien genetics adapted to include him in whatever psychic network her people shared. Marcus had never felt so complete, so perfectly matched to another being. "I love you," he whispered into her silver hair. "Love," Nova repeated softly, testing the word. Then she smiled, the expression radiant with joy. "Yes, love, Marcus." My human outside, dawn was breaking over the mountains. But their peaceful moment was shattered by the distant sound of helicopters approaching. Military helicopters moving in search patterns across the valley. Nova bolted upright, her glow flickering with fear. "They come," she whispered. "They hunt." Marcus's blood ran cold. 3 days of bliss were about to become a nightmare of running and hiding. But as he looked at Nova's frightened face, he knew there was no choice to be made. She was his now, bonded to him in ways that transcended species. Whatever came next, they would face it together. "Then we run," he said simply. "Already. Moving to gather supplies. We run, and we hide, and we stay together no matter what." Hearts under Ferretti helicopters circled closer as Marcus and Nova gathered what they could carry. His emergency backpack, food, water, camping gear, everything they'd need to survive in the deep wilderness. Nova moved with fluid grace despite her obvious fear, her survival instincts honed by a lifetime among the stars. "Cave system," Marcus explained as they slipped out his back door. 5 miles north. They'll never find us there." They moved through the forest like ghosts, Nova's natural agility complementing Marcus's knowledge of every trail and hiding spot. Behind them, they could hear vehicles on the mountain road, voices shouting orders, the mechanical whir of detection. Equipment. The first cave entrance was hidden behind a waterfall, accessible only by a treacherous climb over wet rocks. Marcus went first, then helped Nova navigate the slippery surface. Her alien strength was impressive. She moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to hostile environments. "Safe here," Marcus panted as they settled into the dry cavern. "Beyond, at least for now." Nova pressed close to him, her glow providing their only light in the absolute darkness. Her fear was palpable through their new bond, but so was her determination. Whatever her people had done to her, she wasn't going back. "Marcus," she whispered, her hands finding his face in the darkness. "If they take me, ... They won't," he said firmly, capturing her lips in a fierce kiss. "I won't let them. They're lovemaking." That night was desperate, fueled by fear and defiance. In the echoing darkness of the cave, they claimed each other again and again, their shared pleasure a bright beacon against the uncertainty surrounding them. Nova's glow painted their joined bodies in shades of blue and silver, while their bond allowed them to experience every sensation twice over. "Mine," Marcus growled as he moved within her, her legs wrapped tight around his waist. "Yours," Nova gasped, her nails leaving glowing traces on his shoulders.
Oh, yeah,
always yours. They fell asleep entwined, but Marcus woke before dawn to the sound of voices echoing through the cave system. Soldiers methodically searching every possible hiding place. "Time to go," he whispered urgently. There was another exit deeper in the caves, one that led to an old mining tunnel. Marcus had explored it years ago during his geological surveys. It would take them miles underground, emerging near an abandoned ranger station in the next valley. They crawled through passages barely wide enough for their bodies, Nova's glow the only thing preventing them from becoming lost in the labyrinthine darkness. Behind them, flashlight beams swept the tunnels they'd already passed through. The mining tunnel was partially flooded, forcing them to wade through knee-deep water for what felt like hours. Nova shivered in the cold, her alien physiology apparently less adapted to Earth's temperature variations than Marcus had hoped. "Here," he said, pulling off his jacket to wrap around her shoulders. "Almost there." They emerged from the tunnel system as the sun was setting, muddy and exhausted but free. The abandoned ranger station sat empty in a small clearing, its solar panels still functional enough to provide basic power. "We can rest here tonight," Marcus said, helping Nova sit on the old porch. "Then figure out our next move." Nova nodded wearily, then suddenly stiffened. Her head tilted, listening to something. Marcus couldn't hear. "What is it?" she whispered. "Zalani ship. Coming." Marcus's heart sank. "Your people found you?" "Not my people," Nova said, her expression grim. "Hunters, sent to retrieve or eliminate." She stood, her glow brightening with determination. Marcus must choose. "Leave me. Be safe. Or stay. Fight together." Marcus didn't hesitate. He pulled her close, their bond humming with shared resolve. "Together," he said firmly. "Whatever comes, we face it together." Overhead, the first alien ship broke through the cloud cover, its sleek form outlined against the stars. But Marcus felt no fear, only fierce protectiveness for the woman in his arms. Human determination and alien love, it would have to be enough. Love transcends worlds. The Zalani ship landed in the clearing with barely a whisper of displaced air. Its hull was smooth as glass, shifting between colors like an oil slick under the moonlight. 3 figures emerged, tall and elegant like Nova, but with a cold, imperious bearing that made Marcus's skin crawl. Nova stepped protectively in front of him, her glow brightening to an almost aggressive intensity. She spoke rapidly in her native language, her tone defiant despite the obvious fear Marcus could feel through their bond. The lead Zalani, distinguished by elaborate patterns of gold threading through their blue skin, responded with what was clearly a command. Nova shook her head violently. "They want me to return," she translated for Marcus. "Say bonding with human is ... disease, must be cured." "Like hell," Marcus growled, moving to stand beside her. The lead Zalani's attention fixed on him with obvious disgust. "When they spoke," Nova translated, "they say you contaminated me. That our bond must be severed before it spreads to others." "Tell them," Marcus said, his voice steady, despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins, "that love isn't a disease, and they'll have to go through me to get to you." Nova's translation sparked angry responses from all 3 aliens. Weapons appeared in their hands, elegant crystalline devices that hummed with barely contained energy, but Nova moved faster than Marcus thought possible. Her hands blazed with healing light that somehow reversed its properties, becoming a weapon instead of cure. The energy blast she hurled at the lead Zalani sent them staggering backward. "Run," she shouted to Marcus. They fled into the forest as more alien ships materialized overhead. But Marcus had spent 20 years learning every trail, every hiding spot, every advantage these mountains offered. He led Nova through deadfalls and ravines that would challenge even alien agility. Behind them, the hunt continued with systematic precision. Energy blasts lit up the night, setting trees ablaze. But Marcus noticed something. Their pursuers were avoiding areas where he and Nova had made love, places where their bond had left psychic traces. "They can track us," Nova panted as they paused in a small cave, "but not ... not where we joined." "Bond confuses their instruments." Marcus grinned fiercely. "Then we give them more confusion." He pulled Nova into his arms, kissing her deeply as energy weapons discharged uncomfortably close to their hiding spot. Their lovemaking was swift and desperate, but no less powerful for its urgency. Nova's healing abilities flowed through their bond, enhancing Marcus's human stamina and strength, while he grounded her alien energies in Earth's reality. When they climaxed together, their combined release created a pulse of energy that short-circuits every alien device within a mile radius. The sudden silence was deafening. "That bought us time," Marcus said, helping Nova to her feet. But not much. They emerged from the cave to find a small group of humans waiting, other Forest Service personnel, local researchers, even some civilian hikers, all accompanied by aliens similar to Nova, but clearly from different factions. Refuge community, Nova breathed in amazement. Thought was legend. An older woman stepped forward, her smile kind but determined. "We've been hiding mixed couples like yourselves for 40 years, she explained. "When the first generation of human-alien bonds proved too strong to break, we learned to fight back. The battle that followed was unlike anything Marcus had imagined. Possible. Humans and aliens working together, their bonds creating networks of shared strength and ability." Marcus found himself moving with Nova's fluid grace while she channeled his stubborn, human determination. When the Zilani hunting party finally retreated, it was with the understanding that Earth's hybrid community was too well established to eliminate. The exile programs would continue, but Nova and others like her would have sanctuary. Months later, Marcus and Nova sat on the porch of their new home in the Hidden Valley. Her pregnancy was just beginning to show, their child destined to be something entirely new. Human determination bonded with alien wisdom. "Happy?" Marcus asked, his hand resting on her gently glowing belly. Nova smiled, the expression radiant with joy. "Complete," she corrected. "We are complete." Above them, stars wheeled in their ancient dance, no longer distant points of light, but destinations made possible by love that transcended worlds.